Hello friends, welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make beef, bean, and spinach soup. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this. Now, mind you, there are two ways you could do this. You could actually use dry beans, which takes a lot longer to cook this, or you can do the can of beans like I have here. These are cannellini beans. They come just basically in the can with some water in them to preserve them, and that's it. So everything else here you see is straight out in this recipe, but I'm doing the canned beans just to speed this up. It's going to taste the same. It's going to have a great taste. However, the can does work really well. So one thing I suggest you do ahead of time is go ahead and pop the top on that can, and we're going to drain that liquid out because we really don't want it to go into our beans. So drain it, set it to the side, and these will be ready when we need them. So we're going to start out with one large carrot, which we're going to cut up into small pieces. Now, mind you, as you're cutting up your carrot, you just want to make sure you don't have too large of pieces going into this, because one, we want it to cook well, but two, we want to make sure that it fits on a spoon, and really large rings of carrot aren't going to work. So what I do is take it and just kind of slice through these to where there are much smaller pieces, especially if you have a really thick carrot like I did. Just make sure you don't have really huge amounts going into this. And we're going to go through and just basically slice up all of this a little bit, just so it's a little bit workable for when you're going to eat this, because we're also going to have other things in here like onion and celery and beef, and we just want to make sure that there's room on the spoon for everything. Now we're going to take about the equivalent of 2 stalks of celery, slice them up really thin as well. Just want to make sure that they're thin pieces of this going in. If you got any really large ones, just go back and reslice them again. And once we get this all cut up, we're just going to cut across it just to make them smaller even from what we did the first time. So go ahead and slice up the rest of it. And then we're going to work with about 1/3 of a cup of onion here. So basically, that's all you need is this little bit of onion that I have. We're just going to cut this up into thin slices so that way they're not really huge and they're really manageable when it comes with the spoon on this as well. So go ahead and just cut through all of that. And this is basically a lot of the vegetables you have to deal with here, other than the fact that we drained the beans. We're going to use those in this as well. So once you get this all cut up, we'll move on to the next stage, which we're going to work with our ground beef. So we're going to start with a large pot. We're putting 1 pound of ground beef into it. We're going to put this on medium-high heat. And we want to cook this, break it up, brown it, make sure that it gets really well done before we do anything else to this. So basically, you're going to cook this probably up to 7 minutes to get it browning for what we want it to be. So just go ahead as this is cooking and break it and stir it, move it around. Make sure the temperature in your pot is at least medium-high so that way it'll cook really well. I didn't put any oil in this just because of the fact that it's going to create enough grease as it is when it's cooking. I really don't want to add to that because we're going to have to remove some of that once we get this cooked anyway. So just go ahead, cook this, move it around, make sure that it's cooking. And once you get to the last part of this, when you know that this is really brown and you're about done with this, we want to drain out that extra grease and just get it out of there, throw it away. We don't want to actually use that in our soup because that'll make a greasy soup. We really don't want that. So go ahead and cook it until you're done. And then after we get it completely cooked and we get the grease out of the pan, which you can see there's quite a bit in the bottom of mine here, once it's all cleaned out and it's ready to roll and everything is brown, that's when we're going to bring our vegetables into play here. So make sure that you're completely cooked through, and then once you get that grease out of there, we're going to bring in the onions, carrots, and the celery to our pot. See, my grease is all gone from this, and I'm going to dump in my vegetables now. The best thing about what I'm doing here is I have this like bendable cutting board, so it's just like a godsend. It helps you do so much. So once these are in here, we're going to stir them in a bit, and we're going to cook for at least 6 minutes to soften these up, because we want to make sure that before we go any further that we don't have that raw vegetable thing going on where it doesn't cook all the way, or you don't have it cooked enough and you get a bite into it and you can tell that it's raw. We don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up, let it cook for the 6 minutes. And then after all of this is done at 6 minutes here to that point, we're going to add in some minced garlic. So just make sure that your vegetables are softened up. And then once you do that, make there a hole in the bottom of your pot where you like move all the stuff to the side and drop in 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And then just work it into everything else by moving it back and forth. And we're going to cook this anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute because we don't want to overcook this because it'll scorch the garlic and give it a really bad taste. So 30 seconds to a minute, you're safe, and you don't really have to worry about that. And then we're going to add some seasoning to this. So we're going to add to this 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, and 1.5 teaspoons of thyme. Sprinkle that over top of everything, and then mix it up so that way all of the seasoning goes through all the meat and vegetables and everything else as this is cooking. And then once we get that done, we're going to bring in that can of cannellini beans and pour them into this. Now make sure you get all that liquid out of there and just put it in there. Make sure everything comes out of the can. Sometimes they stick to the bottom. And then we're going to mix it up some more after this is in, because we want to make sure that these get incorporated in with the seasoning and the meat and everything else. And once we get this all mixed in, we're going to come in next with 4 cups of beef broth. And that's going to give us a lot of flavor in this. So that's the wonderful thing about that. A lot of that is just going to come straight in from that and add to what we already have in the pot. So 4 cups, put it in there, and then after you get the 4 cups in, you will be mixing this up again. And that's not the only liquid we're adding to it. We will add some water after that as well. But 4 cups to begin with, and then mix it up. Because as we stir this and mix it up, it just gives a chance for everything to mingle together and really have a great taste. Now, once we get this done, we're going to come in behind this with 2 cups of water. And once we get our water in there, we pretty much have everything mixed in that we're going to need to cook this. Now, once we get this up to a higher temperature, because we want to bring the temperature up, because everything we put in here liquid-wise wasn't hot, so we need to get it up in temperature before we lower the temperature on your stove. So get it up to the point where it's about ready to boil, and then we're going to turn it down to about medium or a little under medium, and that way we're going to cook this for 1 hour. We want to make sure that everything has a chance to cook through and make sure all of it's done, all of the carrots and everything else are softened and everything is ready to go. And then the last thing, after you've cooked this for the hour, you're going to add 1 cup of spinach into the pot. And that's going to be where your spinach comes from, because we don't want that in early because it'll cause it to totally disintegrate. So we just want to have it in there at the end. It's going to be in, mixed through. Just let this cook for about like 2 to 3 minutes to warm it up, and you are ready to eat this. And it's just amazing to eat this soup because it has such a great flavor, because there's so many vegetables in it, but the beef and everything, it all just works together to have something really wonderful. If you're serving this for lunch or dinner or wherever you want to do it, this could be a side or it could be a main thing. The best thing is it has this amazing flavor, and the spinach just kicks it all off. But the beef and everything else and the beans, they all work together. And this is what mine looked like in the bowl, and I gotta tell you, this was really good. I think you just might like it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.